Okay, this is so funny. Okay, wait, let's go back. Couldn't understand what Bad Bunny was saying in Spanish at the Super Bowl because Duolingo has failed you. Let's learn Spanish from Bad Bunny's halftime show. Please note that I can only show so much because of copyright rules. Hey.
Hey, Titi Me Preguntó si tengo mucha novia. Hey, mucha novia. Hoy tengo una, mañana otra.
Hey. So the first thing he says is, Titi me preguntó si tengo mucha novia, or in this case, muchas novias. Titi asked me if I have a lot of girlfriends, muchas novias. Hoy tengo a una, mañana otra. So I have one today and then another tomorrow. What a stand-up guy. Ahora vamos a comenzar con el perreo. Okay, so when he says yo perreo sola, what does this mean? It means I dirty dance alone or I grind alone. Perrear is a kind of dirty dancing that is common in Puerto Rico. Also, from my understanding, Bad Bunny was one of the first people to do a set for the Super Bowl almost entirely in Spanish. Okay, so here he says, aprovecha que estoy soltero, meaning take advantage of the fact that I am single. If you are soltero or soltera, you are single. The verb aprovechar means to take advantage of something. This can be positive or negative. Okay, this is a perfect example that we can listen to. He just yelled out, están escuchando música de Puerto Rico, which I would argue is pretty easy to understand if you're an intermediate level. He says, you guys are listening to music from Puerto Rico. When we say están escuchando, that could refer to ellos, which means them, or ustedes, meaning you guys. So, ustedes están escuchando música de Puerto Rico. Me encanta esta canción. Okay, let's break this down. He says, Buenas tardes, California. Because of his accent, he kind of cuts off the S's. He says, Buena tarde. He also kind of turns those R's into an L sound, a very characteristic thing of Puerto Rican Spanish. So, Buenas tardes, California. Good afternoon, California. Okay, he says, Mi nombre es Benito Antonio Martinez Ocasio, I believe. My name is Benito, and then his full name. In Spanish, you could also say, Me llamo. So he could have said, Me llamo Benito. Me llamo literally translates to, I call myself. But in English, it just means, my name is. Both work, me llamo or mi nombre es. Okay, he says, y si hoy estoy aquí en el Super Bowl 60. And today, if I am here at Super Bowl 60, and then he proceeds to say,
Es porque nunca.
Es porque. Notice how porque here kind of sounds like an L. Porque nunca. It's because never, or I assume he's going to say something else. It's because I never.
Nunca dejé de creer en mí.
Nunca dejé de creer en mí. I never stopped believing in me or in myself. When we use the phrase dejar de, it means to stop. So, nunca dejé de creer en mí. I never stopped believing in myself.
Tú también deberías de creer en ti.
Okay, he says, tú también deberías de creer en ti. You should also believe in yourself. The verb deber means to should or to ought. Deberías is what we call the conditional tense in Spanish. So in this case, he's saying you should. Deberías.
Vales más de lo que piensas.
Vales más de lo que piensas. And notice how, once again, because he's from Puerto Rico, he kind of cuts off the S. Instead of saying vales, he says vale más. He says it really quick. Vales más de lo que piensas. You are worth more than you think. Créeme. Believe me. This is a command. So he's telling you to believe him. Créeme. Dime. Dime is also a command. Tell me. Esto es lo que tú querías. This is what you wanted. Or is this what you wanted? The word querías comes from the verb querer, meaning to want, and it can also mean to love. When we say querías, it's the imperfect tense. We use this tense to talk about things that were ongoing in the past. So in this case, it's translating to you wanted. That's an ongoing thing in the past. This is a real wedding. I had to look this up. This is a legit real wedding, and they actually did get married. Apparently, this couple reached out to Bad Bunny asking him if he would perform at their wedding, and he said, "Why don't you just get married at the Super Bowl when I perform?" Que loco. Also, I heard that this flower that Lady Gaga has on her dress is a flower that comes from Puerto Rico. Si no sabías, este estilo de música es salsa. So this is salsa music right here. Okay, let's listen to what he says here. Okay, he says, mientras uno está vivo, while one is alive. It's common that native Spanish speakers will use the word uno when referring to one or you. Just people in general, while one is alive, or while you are alive. Not you specifically, but people in general. Now, it's a little hard to hear him, but I believe he said, uno debe amar lo más que pueda. He might also say disfrutar. So here he's saying, while one is alive, you should enjoy as much as you can, or love as much as you can. Lady Gaga, okay, Lady Gaga. Lady Gaga, or should I say Señorita Gaga? No, I mean, look, I tried. I thought that would land, so I'm just gonna cut now. Okay, so here he says, no, no te puedo olvidar. No, I cannot forget you. The verb olvidar means to forget. He then says, no, no te puedo borrar. No, I can't erase you, or erase you from my mind, my heart, however you want to translate that. Borrar just means to erase. Then they say, me enseñaste a querer. You taught me to love. Enseñaste comes from the verb enseñar, meaning to teach, and enseñaste is the preterite tense. It's the past tense. So, you taught me. In Spanish, the preterite is for one-time actions in the past, whereas the imperfect is for ongoing actions in the past. So, enseñaste, you taught. Enseñabas, you were teaching, or you used to teach. Okay, this is so Latino right here. At any Latin party, there's always going to be kids sleeping on chairs because, as we all know, Latinos like to party, and they party late. I'm talking late. So it's very common to see kids sleeping on chairs. This is classic, and I guarantee any Latino who watched this Super Bowl show could appreciate this little moment. No way. So that couple legit got married at this show. Crazy. Okay. Quick little side note. Spanish speakers will many times just say okay for okay. You can also say está bien. In Mexico, we'll say sale. You could say vale in a place like Spain. But you can also just say okay in Spanish. Si te quieres divertir. If you want to have fun. The verb here is divertirse, meaning to have fun. So, te quieres divertir. Si te quieres divertir. If you want to have fun. And if you want to get spicy, you could also say si quieres divertirte. Both work. Can I just say real quick, many native Spanish speakers cannot understand what Bad Bunny says. You have to remember that in Puerto Rico, they have their own special slang and their own way of pronouncing things. So, a Spanish speaker who's a native speaker from Mexico or Colombia might have trouble understanding everything that Bad Bunny says. So, if you can't understand everything he says, don't feel too bad about yourself. It's crazy because he won the Grammys the same week that he performed at the Super Bowl. That's awesome. Okay, so before Ricky Martin starts singing, very famous singer, I want you to take note of the plastic chairs, las sillas de plástico. This is kind of a key thing in Latin culture, and a lot of people have really good memories of hanging out in plastic chairs in their yard or just out in front of the house. You know, whether that's your abuelos, your tíos, primos, whoever, but just hanging out and chatting on the plastic chairs. It's a real common thing in Latin culture. Okay, so he says, quieren el barrio mío. They want my neighborhood. Now, the word mío can mean mine, but in this context, it just translates as my. Quieren el barrio mío. Literally, they want the neighborhood mine, but it just means they want my neighborhood. So, they want my neighborhood y que abuelita se vaya, and that grandma leaves. When he says se vaya, that is what we call the subjunctive in Spanish. Just because they want that to happen doesn't mean that it actually is going to happen. There's doubt, and therefore we have to use what's called the subjunctive mood. Also, vaya comes from the verb ir, meaning to go. But when we make it into a reflexive, when we add that word se onto it, it actually translates into the word leave. So if I say to you, me voy, because I put the me on there, I'm saying I'm leaving instead of I'm going. Okay, so this scene right here is representing the common power outages that they experience in Puerto Rico, which, from my understanding, have a lot to do with government corruption, which is why they put this in here. Throughout this scene, you're also going to see lights flickering on and off, which also represent that. Also, another interesting thing I want to point out, Bad Bunny is a US citizen, and a lot of people were complaining about him being in the Super Bowl, including Donald Trump. The interesting thing is that many people have performed in the Super Bowl at halftime before Bad Bunny who were not US citizens. So it's pretty crazy to think that people are upset over a US citizen performing in the halftime show. ¿Tú qué opinas? Okay, so here he says, por las mañanas café, por las tardes ron. So in the mornings, coffee, in the afternoons or evenings, rum. Once again, notice his accent, the way he kind of smushes everything together. And I honestly really like the way it sounds. Por las tardes. Like I said, they kind of turn those R's into L sounds. Por las tardes. Obviously, I don't do a great job of imitating him, but you get the idea.
God bless America. Sea Chile.
So, then he says, God bless America, and then he proceeds to say all of the countries in the Americas in Spanish. Let's listen.
Uruguay, Paraguay, Bolivia, Perú, Ecuador, Brasil, Colombia, United States, Canadá, and my motherland, mi patria, Puerto Rico.
He says, and my motherland, mi patria, which is my country, Puerto Rico. Okay, so this is a really important part in the show, and you saw him hold up the football that says, together we are America. A lot of people forget that when you say America, you could be referring to Canada or Mexico, Guatemala. All of that is the Americas. Also, did you notice all the famous people in this video? There was Pedro Pascal, Jessica Alba, Karol G, Lady Gaga, Ricky Martin, to name a few. Y fíjate que básicamente todo el concierto fue en español. There was very little English, basically none. If you want to learn how to speak Spanish like Bad Bunny, click the link in the video description or go to SpanishWithNate.com to join our Fluent Spanish Speaker Academy. Also, did I miss anything? Leave a comment on the video letting me know. If you want to know what your Spanish level is, click this video.